Good? All right. All right, welcome to this 5:30 work session to talk about Abernathy Park design. I hope everybody had a good weekend. I know it's a Tuesday, so I have to, we're normally doing this on Monday, so it is Tuesday. We're gonna jump right in. So we wanna make sure we have a great conversation, talk about what's going on, latest updates, and then also get the feedback from everybody here on council. So Nathan, I'm gonna let you start us off, catch us up, tell us what's going on, and then we'll go from there. And then introduce the team.
Yeah, so thank you all for being here. I think this is going to be really valuable for especially setting the vision for the park. We have Darren Meyer and Houghton Sheik, both from MKSK, who are part of our design team. They're the lead for the design team that we have. They're going to kind of walk us through the presentation, and then we'll be able to go from there for just a certain discussion and things like that.
Some of you have given me your written comments. I have those right here. I'm going to be giving those to Darren before the end of the night, and I will forward them. I'm going to combine all of this together so everyone will see everyone's comments. The other thing I wanted to address is that this project will be happening on 4 engineer-owned property. We do have an existing lease for that property, and we have been working with Tim Crabtree of the Corps from the very beginning of when we started discussing this project. We have a plan in place where he will be involved in every step as we go along, because we don't want to design something that isn't allowed on the Corps property. So they are part of this process. They will actually be at our next public input meeting. And at the end, we'll come up with a comprehensive site redevelopment plan as what gets issued to them. But since they've been involved all the way along, there's no surprises. We should be successful.
Do we know, maybe this, I'll save my questions until, yeah.
You have the presentation, right? I think Sarah put it on the...
Actually, Andy, go back to that first slide. I'll read that to everybody again, just to make sure I know the first slide. Okay. Right at the beginning. Just to remind everybody about the work session, this opportunity to hear what's going on and for council to give their input tonight. But we'll also have future community meetings as well. So I just wanted to remind everybody about that.
Perfect, thank you. Mayor and Council, it's great to meet everyone. Good to be here this evening. I'm excited to be involved in this. My name is Darren Meyer with MPSK. We're a landscape architecture and city planning firm. One of the things that emerged early on when we got involved was that this was a special place for the city of Clemson. So we're grateful to be involved and looking forward to the conversation tonight. The way we wanted to structure this evening is we'll do a brief update. We're pretty early in the process, but we'll give you an update on our status. One of the things we're not going to try and achieve tonight is to design the park, but we do want to have a solid foundation of hearing what your priorities are and what you're hearing from the community. And we'll talk a little bit about the process that we are going to move through for design. This is a high-level overview of our schedule. So in blue, a lot of the work that we've been doing to date is getting some technical data, survey information about the park, etc. We started to move into the green phase where we're collecting some information from the community here in a few weeks and from our discussion tonight about what folks would like to see in the park. And then ultimately we'll put together some ideas that take what we've heard and put them on the ground, and we'll illustrate those and communicate what it would feel like to be in the park and its future condition. And then ultimately, once we get the community and council to affirm the direction that we're heading with this, then we'll start to document that design and get it ready for construction. We got a great team. We have a great engineering partner with Thomas & Hutton. Paul Russell, a great landscape architect here locally. Rome office is our architect. and Vita and Terracon are sort of rounding out our team in terms of some of the technical disciplines. This is a little bit hard to read, but this is a little bit more detailed schedule. The one thing that I want to point out here is that we have 2 major milestones, and we're sort of arrived at the first one here, and both of them involve meeting with City Council and then with the community. So in the first milestone today, and then on the 26th with our community meeting, we're going to be learning a lot about, one, what people value in the park today, and then 2, what they'd like to see for that park in the future. And then in that second milestone meeting, and that'll happen in October, we're going to come back with some ideas, get some feedback on those, and then we'll move forward from that point. We're going to flip the order of these a little bit. So we're meeting with council first in this session, and then the community. We're going to flip that, so we'll share the ideas with the community, and then we'll come to you and share what we've heard and get some of your response and feedback as well. And then once we get to that end of the green bar on there, we should have a good sense of where we're headed with a concept for the park, and we'll move forward from there into preparing for construction. I'm going to share with you 5 project goals, and what I'd like you to do is sort of think about these and absorb these, and we're going to ask to see if we're on track with these, and we're going to do the same thing with the community. And the reason that we have these goals is when it comes to the point where we're creating designs and we're asking the community for feedback, people will tell us whether they like it or not. But importantly, what we want to do is we want to say, earlier in the process, tonight and on the 26th, we agreed to some of these guiding principles or goals for the project. And when we share the design, the question we want to ask is, have we achieved these goals? Did the design meet those goals? So would love for you to look at these, think about these, and we'll ask if there's anything that's fundamentally missing or anything that's in there that maybe we should pull back from or other ideas we've missed. But at a high level, the idea that this is a passive nature-based park, that it feels like an oasis in the heart of downtown and the city, improving connectivity, so both to the park, but also it's an important route through the park as well. So we want to make it really welcoming, accessible, and comfortable for people to get to and move through, and for all modes, walking, biking, boating. And then on the far right, you can see that this is really the idea that this has the opportunity to continue to be a jewel for the city of Clemson. So we really want it to be a special place and a special experience for residents and visitors. As I mentioned, we've been out in the field doing some technical work. It's a challenging site. You know, some sites that you can look at on Google Earth and sort of pan around and understand it, but this is a really tricky site. A lot of the park is out over the water, some of it's on land. So we've spent a lot of time out there. We did a sort of a hot weather tour with city staff and went out and did a nice walk throughout the entire area. And that was great because we got to see and hear some firsthand observations about what's working out there today, what's not working. So that was extremely helpful. Okay, so in a couple of weeks here on the 26th, we're inviting the community to come in and have a conversation about what they'd like to see in the park. And I wanted to share with you, just at a high level, some of the questions and activities that we're going to engage the community in. So the first thing that we'll do is we will offer the opportunity for people that are coming to the meeting to share with us where they live. That's voluntary, but that allows us afterwards to see where the input is coming from. So we'll have a map that you can kind of put a dot where you live or work. So there will be some welcome station information where we gather some high-level information. Then we're going to ask people about their impression of the park today. Then we'll sort of move and say, what do you think the strengths of the park are? Because ultimately, a core part of our process is building on what people love about the park. So when we have a good feel for what are those assets that the community really appreciates, we want to be able to protect those and enhance those moving forward. And then we have an exercise with red dots and green dots where they will show us with green dots where they feel most safe and comfortable getting to the park and in the park, and red dots where they feel less so. So that's a helpful, gives a little heat map of where things are working and where aren't from that standpoint. And then we'll sort of round it out with 3 things in a forward-looking way. One is, what are the features and activities that you would like to see in the park looking ahead with this enhancement, with this refresh. And then we have a really great exercise that we've used before where we ask people to describe their perfect day at the park. We did this in Spartanburg for the Morgan Square renovation, and we had over 600 responses written out longhand. People just very thoughtful filling that out for us, and it was extremely helpful. And part of the reason we do that is that if we ask people what stuff they'd like to see in the park, and they say a bench, a picnic table, it gives us it's helpful, but it's a very limited window for us to succeed or not succeed. It's either in or it's out. But if we ask people what kind of experience they'd like to have, I'd like to go there with my family, I'd like to have a birthday party under a shelter, I'd like to fish, then that gives us the flexibility to create that experience for them. So that perfect day exercise is a great way to kind of gather that insight. And then we're going to have a station for kiddos where they'll have the opportunity to do some fun stuff as well as some ideas for the park themselves. So that will take place here on the 26th, and I'm really excited to see what kind of feedback we get from that process. There are two projects that are adjacent to ours, the development of the hub, which is scheduled for summer of '27, and then I think most importantly, there's work within the park itself for a sewer upgrade. And as we've sort of coordinated with staff and worked through this, the idea is that the Abernathy Park improvements will come right on the heels of that work, so that any disturbance that happened as part of that project and the improvements that we've worked with the community to visualize will be implemented right on the heels of that. And so when the park opens, the sewer work is complete, the park improvements are complete, and it's available for public use. Is there anything, Nathan or Andy, that you wanted to add on adjacent projects?
Just that we're working diligently to try to get through all the easements for the sewer project so we can start as soon as possible, so this timeline will be as efficient as possible with the goals, just for the goal for that project and for both projects.
The only other thing I wanted to clarify for council is when I mentioned that a couple of you sent in written comments, they have not been sent to him, so no one has a leg up. So I just said I won't gather those, and then just let everyone get the feedback at the same time, and then we'll send them on to him.
Can I ask you a question, or wait for questions?
Oh, go ahead, please.
And I could be, please forgive me if I'm wrong. The meeting on the 26th, I would love for us to have 600 people and 600. But strategically, how do you get people to come to those meetings? Because I think one problem we have, there's so much activity happening at Clemson, people almost can't keep all these projects straight. So how do we say, generate excitement, come to this great meeting to help design Abernathy Park? I mean, maybe one of those meetings shouldn't be here, one should be somewhere else, like maybe close to the park, maybe, you know, just food for thought. But what is our experience on these things? Do big crowds come out, which we would love?
I think about like the Clemson Next process, we had some meetings for that, and they had a huge turnout.
Yeah.
And I've seen a lot of chatter on social media about it already, so I'm hopeful that that will help, and that word of mouth will help spread that to neighbors. Obviously, I encourage all of us to do the same. And
We have began putting yard signs out around.
Yeah,
City
they're
Hall,
very noticeable. It's great.
123 near the park.
We also sent postcards out to direct adjacent neighbors and neighborhoods as well, to make sure that they were aware of the project and the meeting.
Awesome.
I would say that normally we would meet on site and do the walk around and have different stations, but you're basically in a construction site. It's not very welcoming.
It's just
challenging to get there, it's hard to park. So we'll probably have to find someplace that's easier accessibility wise.
And if you have some thoughts on where you've seen success in different forums for reaching out, communication to reach out, let us know. We've worked with Bree and staff on kind of a schedule for public or social media and announcements. And then all of the content that we share at the meeting on the 26th we'll also do online. So if you're unable to come out to the meeting, you can participate in those same activities online.
And the two sessions, you kind of repeat the same thing.
Right.
The two, okay.
I will say, I think that knowing the detail of how you're going to run it is very intriguing, and it sounds honestly fun to attend and give feedback. So I would love if we could get something like maybe a rundown of what to expect at the meeting on socials. That might be helpful as well to draw some crowds.
Even just highlighting what you said, experience, what's your perfect day in the park?
Yeah, like
You
start
could
thinking
just,
about
you
it
could just
now.
start big picture,
That's a good.
highlight that strategy, like Lillian said, so, yeah.
That's great, thank you.
Awesome.
So that really wraps up the sort of upfront update. Most of what I wanted to dedicate this evening to is hearing from you. So what I thought we might do is just sort of work our way across the group and have a little bit of protected space for each of you to share with us some of your priorities for the project and what you're hearing from the community. And then once we sort of get through that, Mayor, I may ask you to facilitate for any sort of issues or questions that come up. You may be able to help facilitate that discussion among council members. And again, we're not necessarily trying to get consensus or solve everything tonight. We mostly just want to make sure we're not missing anything going into the front end of this process when we're starting design. So Councilmember Fulmer, you want to kick us off with some of your initial thoughts?
You know,
Absolutely.
he's got 'em.
Oh, yeah, I was going
And I've got,
Didn't
but
know
I
there was
will
a
say
test.
this, you know,
I'm sorry to interrupt you right off the bat, but my colleague Hao Ting is here and he's taking detailed notes. If it looks like I'm not note-taking, we've got it covered.
based on what you said a minute ago, some of mine may be a little bit too specific, but that's fine. You know, you can do with them what you would like and everything, okay? I guess my first view is I feel like the current park is dark. And I'd like, and this of course obviously would go along with what the Corps will allow us to do, but I think whether there's some trees that are taken out, whether there's some trees that are thin, whether there are trees that are thinned up, whether the foliage is thinned out, those types of things can make it lighter without just going to taking all the trees. All the various invasive plants have got to go away and stay away at this stage of the game because it's more of a wilderness than everything else. The other thing that I think is important, and I've heard this from a number of people, is we need to clean up the creek area from J.C. Park to the lake essentially. There's a lot going on in there, and it's just nasty, and it just needs to be cleaned up as a part of what's going to happen with the park. I'm not saying what material, but I think the way I see it, the wooden walkways and reflections areas need to be replaced, repaired, whatever the case may be. I'm not certain that wood is the best material to be used from a long-term perspective, but again, I'm not the planner, I'm not the designer. But I do think most of that needs to be, I mean, I know we did the flooring, but did we do the structure underneath particularly? No, we probably did not. Did we do the railings? In some cases we did, some cases we didn't. So there needs to be more consistency, but I think it needs to be, the finished product needs to be from J.C. Park all the way to the end of the park, no matter what it looks like. I mean, you've got it in there, but no matter what it looks like, it needs to be that way. I think one of the things we have heard early on in this is I suggest a bigger, better reflection area at the end of the park. I guess that this would be this end of the park, so to speak, which is also accessible more so to what I would think would be a larger group of handicap parking. Because it's
What do you mean by reflection area?
just,
Pondering area.
well, actually, I think you'll find there are a number of people, there's a bigger area there at the lake, kind of almost not a 12 by 12, 18 by 18, 24 by 24 area, flat area that people can come and just sit there and look.
I got you, yeah.
And I mean, it seems that, I mean, I say this in a nice way, some of the more elderly folks that kind of struggle to get around seem to want to go and get there and be there, and that's the reason I think that, and I know you're limited in what you can do, but I think if more of the handicap parking is close to that, it'll be more usable for those people. So we worked it out, because the other parking is going to be in the garage, but the people that can walk without help can certainly find their way to the park. But those that are handicapped are going to be limited in what they can do. So virtually, I think it needs to be kind of sort of down there in what I would call a reflection area, because I believe that's what they will use. This kind of sort of came from the design that we saw with the hub project, but I liked it, and I think there needs to be a lot of green open space. So what I'd say, there was a rendering there that kind of showed it from the hub to the lake, and it was kind of went down like that and almost gave you an amphitheater effect. I don't think the Corps is going to allow us to actually have an amphitheater, but that doesn't mean you can't set up chairs and sit from time to time. And you know, it can be a play area for the kids or whatever the case may be and run around, but just a big, large open space. I mean, obviously Unity Park is an open space on steroids. I'm not talking about that, but essentially something where you could do that. And I think, you know, whether you can or cannot, I mean, You could have it set up with a stage down towards the lake, or you could have it set up with electricity, so you could set up temporary stages so that you could have an occasional event down there on the lake, on that part of the lake and everything. But have the green space that would overlook the open area to the lake, to the water, from that standpoint. Also, I know we have a play area, and this is, we can go either way on this depending on how others feel. I know we have a children's play area in J.C. Park, but I also think we need to have one in this park, and it may need to be in conjunction with that green space so the kids can kind of come in there. And I'm not talking something on steroids, but something bigger than what we got there, but not what's at Unity Park, but somewhere kind of sort of in between, and it can fit it in. But I think probably if you want that green space to be kind of a play area, an open area, I think that's probably where it would need to be. As far as shelters are concerned, I don't know in the plan whether the current shelter, what's the name of that shelter?
Trent Pavilion?
Trent Pavilion. I don't know whether that shelter stays or is moved. I mean, I think it needs to stay, but is it moved from a location or not? But that shelter, I'd like to see that shelter overhauled, redone, made larger, because right now, there's really not a place in the park for, other than that shelter, for a family reunion or a group to get together and do something along those lines. I don't know whether, considering we do have limited space in the park, I don't know whether there's room for more than one shelter. But again, that's a possibility. But at the very least, that particular shelter, which does have meaning to the park, if it's able to stay where it is or even moved, I think it should be enlarged so that you can, again, have, anything, family reunions, whatever the case may be, even small events, those types of things that we were talking about. So again, for that shelter type area there. Let's get to docks. We need permanent docks, and they need to be on what I call the western end of the park, which is where you got deeper water, okay? And, I sent Nathan pictures of the docks from Seneca Creek. Those are really nice docks, but one of the things that's critical about those docks is those docks have the ability to rise and fall with the lake level and not have to be pushed in and out.
Right.
And so I think, again, you set it up that way, you have a long enough rampway out that's not an issue, and then you've got water, essentially year-round water, where the docks will float up and down. But the only way to really get there is to move to the western end of the lake. But again, I think if you have sufficient dockage there and there's water there, you will have a greater amount of boating use for this park. And if you think about it, we've got this park, we've got Lakeview, Mountain View Park, and then we've got the 12 Mile Park. And this is not my idea; it's actually Nathan's idea. But you could have like a waterway kind of situation where people move, from point A to point B to point C and that kind of stuff. And so instead of having a green Crescent Trail, you have a water trail, or whatever you want to call it. But you can kind of move it back and forth. Because you got, I don't know what that distance is. Robert, how far is that? You've been doing it.
I have paddled it.
So anyway, but you do something like that. And I know that I've seen it somewhere out there. There is a state park that actually has canoe and kayak rentals. So that needs to be a part of this. Instead of trying to have a vendor that you would, although that's an option, but instead of try to have a dedicated vendor for that, there is almost like a bike rack kind of scenario. And one of the state parks here has it, and you basically go in and you put a credit card in, you open that rack, and you pull out that kayak, you pull out that canoe, you go do whatever you're going to do, and then you bring it back, and your credit card's released. And so that way you take the human, having to have an actual resource there. But I think if you're going to have the docks there, you need to have the kayaks and canoes there. So you do, and I know people have their own, but this is a situation where they don't necessarily have their own, and it can be done in a manner. And again, I think we can find where that's located and everything. Also, I think that the end of the park, that essentially, we passed an ordinance not that long ago. So I'm going to say from Pixie and Bill's, but you've got maybe some obstructions there. But as you go down towards the open end of the lake, so to speak, we need to figure out a way to make that more accommodating to those businesses, not the ones that are currently there. But long term, as we've changed that ordinance now, those businesses can now actually turn around and face the lake. And so I don't know how you go about doing that, but as you design that, you need to design it in a way in which those businesses can take advantage of the lake and from whether it be dining or activities or whatever the case may be. Because now the ordinance has been changed and they can do that, and those businesses will change hands over time. and that, I think, will add value to them and as to what they're trying to do. The last, well, not the last, well, the next to last thing, I was in Erie, Pennsylvania not long ago and ran across an open concept dining type situation. And in this case, it was really not a food truck. It was still set up to be that way. But I mean, again, it was open air. They had it set up where the food and beverage was covered, but again, it was still open. But also it had within that, it had, set up where it was not just for adults, but also it had games for kids, and all that kind of stuff. And I sent that picture to Nathan as well, and he can share that with you. That's a much bigger venue than I think we've got space for, but it was jammed, and it was just a super idea. Whether you do it in conjunction with maybe a portion of the hub, I don't know, but I think once you see the picture, you'll get the idea. I shared it with a few. I got to be cautious about the meeting situation, so I'll try to share it with some more, so I won't, do the wrong thing there. But anyway, that was in Erie, Pennsylvania, but it was really neat. It really was. It's an idea for the park. And the last thing, we've talked about it, and it was enough conversation about it that I hate to ignore it, and that's dredging the lake, okay, at that end. As we talked about the park, is what we were going through this process and everything, I know there were conversations where people kind of got the impression that we would probably try to dredge the lake. I know one of our former council members has suggested a price, and I don't want to say that, but I thought it was quite reasonable to do what I call a dry dredge of that end of the lake, which is closest to the J.C. Park, which is the right end of the lake and the cove and everything. And with the way the Corps is handling the lake right now, unless you had a severe drought, I don't know that it's ever going to get dry enough for that to actually happen. So you might have to explore doing what I guess I would call a wet dredge. I don't know the case may be, but I really think if we're going to go to do all this and we're going to spend what I hope we spend in this park, I think we'd be making a mistake not looking at doing that. But if we dredge it, and Andy, some of you guys have been here longer than I have, early 2000s was the last time it was dredged?
It's been a long time.
Right. So you can't dredge it every 25 years. So if you do dredge it, then you need to set up a fund. We have to figure out a way to fund a reserve for it, and you dredge it every 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years, whatever the case may be. But you do it on a schedule, and you keep it that way, and probably the subsequent dredgings are not going to be as expensive. But I do think we need to strongly consider dredging that point.
Okay.
That's it.
My goodness.
Thank you for
If both were candy and nuts, we'd all have a Merry Christmas. Jeez,
Anyway.
I think
very thorough, John.
Councilperson Fulmer has covered the
Yes.
the waterfront, so to speak, and I'm in the amen corner. Almost everything
Yeah.
you said is fabulous. And if y'all can do all that, that'd be so amazing. This is exciting. Just a couple of things I would just add. I do agree that the wood feels kind of tired. I know you're going to replace it if it could be a different product. I love the goals that you had up there, and you said it'd be a convening place. I think one of our goals should be to get more people in that park. That's inferred in those goals, but literally it seems kind of lonely sometimes when you walk through there. It feels kind of isolated. It's lovely, the little trails, but it just seems like it's just a walking park versus an activity park.
Yeah.
So this idea of having some central activities and thinking about multi-age, something for families, something for gatherings, something for older people maybe who are in the reflection areas you said, something for exercisers. Right now it's more of an exerciser park, so it's a great opportunity, again, to get more people in there, make it feel less isolated. When you mention the businesses, perhaps having a meeting just with the businesses that back up, because I do think if we could get some of those restaurants to literally turn around, it'd just be amazing. Right. But so I think to get them engaged in a discussion, a different discussion that you have just with the business owners along there would be really nice. A small thing, the Boy Scouts are very involved with helping with invasive species, and you can engage them in that too. So again, agree on many things that I've already said. I'm excited about this as a real transition for this space. I think it's a very well-kept secret, this park is.
It's a
very
good way to put
well-kept.
it, yeah.
And we can turn that around and make it more of a park that everybody uses.
It's great. Thank you.
I agree with, thank you, Councilman Fulmer, for having such really great ideas and understanding this park better than I do, because I appreciate that. I guess one of the things that bothers me is, living here my life, the droughts are horrible. So what my first reaction is the docks. There's nothing worse than being in a park and looking out and seeing, 50 yards of dirt and stumps and it because of a drought. So I do agree with the floating docks, I think is very important. And the other thing is dredging.
Okay.
I have heard that as well, that it needs to be dredged. He said he didn't know if it's ever going to be dry enough to do that, so I hope the rain doesn't stop now. But, yeah, exactly. But the dredging, people have talked to me and also just seen it, that like he said, 25 years, you can't do that. So we need to keep that on the schedule. So mine is more the levels of the lake and the docks and the dredging.
Understood, yeah, great, thank you.
With the dredging, what we do is we get a permit. And right now, what's holding us up in the application process is having a place to take all the material.
There you go,
We've
yeah.
identified a place, but we can't take it there yet. But what you do is you get your dredging permit and then you just keep it up. You just
Correct.
maintain it and renew it so it doesn't fall.
Correct.
So that when you're able to strike, you can.
Right. And you got, all right, and your permit's updated and is ready to
We have
go.
our dredging fund, so.
Because getting a permit is usually one of the hardest things to do with that type of thing.
All right. You're going to hear a lot of reoccurring themes, I believe, so that's a good thing, that we're all on the same page, or not everything, but pretty much in general, we have a lot of the same thoughts. So I won't get bogged down, like you said earlier, about too much into the weeds, when I say weeds, but more of the specifics, because you want to put big picture, I get it. This is the heart of our city. This is one of the few, we have not validated, and I'll look at Nathan, I don't know many downtown spaces in the state of South Carolina that has a lakefront park in their downtown area. I think we're one of 3, if there even are, in the whole state. So that's why this is something we want to make sure we don't lose sight of that big vision, big picture, enhance the beauty of the park, absolutely, but this park is something that many generations will use. So, all right, so let's go in real quickly. A lot of the things that all 3 of them are said, and maybe it'll be redundant on this side too, but public safety, we need to make sure we always never forget that. John mentioned about the lighting, absolutely. Got to open it up a little bit more. Try to keep as many trees as possible. I love the canopy of trees, but you also need to make sure you open up. You said like thinning, that'd be a Tony question, but also a community question about what is the best way to keep it still a passive park, but open it up a little bit more. Accessibility, you mentioned that, John mentioned that specifically. People of all ages should be able to use this park. Better lighting, and here's another recurring theme, open spaces for gatherings to make it feel better and more useful than it is now. So you think about that. By the way, I submitted all these comments too to Nathan, so
Great.
really don't have to take a lot of notes personally. Connectivity downtown, we'd love to have a boardwalk path to JC Park, which would be part of this. The big opportunity is improving that path, lighting finding, having your signs, making it to the boulevard to downtown. It really is only about a 5-minute walk. So that's, I know there's a cost involved, but when you're talking 5 minutes, that's a good thing. We're not talking 15-minute walk. Kind of big picture, imagine someone like taking a stroll, getting ice cream, going down. Because I see a lot of people at night downtown. I've seen it the last couple of weeks. My daughter and I have gone down, and my wife and son too sometimes. And you see so many people strolling. They want to go somewhere at night. This will be the opportunity to go at night. We've already talked about passive recreation, kayaks, water sports. That may have been Table Rock, by the way, where you can do that. I don't know if that is it. I was up there Sunday hiking. I think they do that at Table Rock. I don't know. They may have someone they employ because someone at the gate was there to check us in. So, but they may do the check-in system with like the kayaks and water sports. Adult exercise equipment possibly allows senior citizens and people really, they don't have maybe the resources to have a free access to exercise. I love that. Brings a variety of users to the park. Everybody, we've been saying this, that we're surprised some of the businesses haven't utilized both sides, but I think this is coming over the next 5 years. Obviously, dockside with your pie, utilizing the lake, people coming up, that's a prime example. It's coming. So let's see. I'm going to go back to the big picture. We just got to emphasize the public connection to the water's edge. I mean, that is huge. Open spaces, elevated views of the sunset. I don't really know where the sunset always, I haven't been there as many times when it's coming down, but I'm looking at Andy maybe.
This point right here,
Yeah.
the sunset sets directly here, so that's a straight line.
So that point right there, it's like,
reflection.
so that point, the reflection, go back, whatever we cater to, thank you for making sure that that's, because I wasn't sure where the sun, how far it went back into the cove, so that's perfect.
There's a picture he had in there earlier where we're all sitting around there riffing on that site because we felt like there was some opportunity there, but the engineer said, you know, you could find in here probably 20 parking spaces on this flat property here, and then you have your straight access to this point. So if we accessed it from here, it seemed from just us walking around that you might be able to do something in that area.
It could be slightly elevated, that's always great too. I'm just saying, I don't know if that's, could be wishful thinking, but I keep on saying, embrace the nature. I mean, we know what's out there, it's a great park. I've already talked about focus on lighting. Public art that embraces our local identity. It'd be great to incorporate that in some capacity. Very tight about hosting community gatherings, small concerts within reason. I know the core and neighbors, you have to be careful from the noise aspect. I realize that, but there's a balance that we could work with on that. And the last thing I already talked about. I think the perfect day experience. I love what you said there. That's the key. I mean, I keep on when I heard that tonight. It is the gem of the city, but I look forward to the community telling us what their perfect day would be in this park, because I think you can enhance it from there. Last thing, just remember this water is our greatest asset in the park, and don't ever lose that.
What is?
Water.
Oh, water. I thought
Water
you said
is,
water.
no, water is the great, sorry, I guess slurring my words there. This is just water, by the way.
I'm like a
Just-
squatter.
Just water, all right. But I did send those in too, so you'll have a lot of that. I know I went through that pretty quickly, so, yeah.
Those are great comments. Thank you.
I asked my 9-year-old daughter what she wanted to see in the park, and some of her answers were already like iterative of what you guys are saying, but she heard me talking to another adult at our downtown music event that had walked from their home by Dockside, and she was like, well, we need to make it really safe for people to walk, because we now have community members, students and locals alike, walking to get downtown. So I think that comes into the thinning of the trees for visibility, but also making sure that at night it's very well lit in an appropriate way, so it's not disrupting neighbors on the other side of the cove, but allowing our residents to be very safe if they are, transporting themselves home. That was number one. And then she mentioned play spaces as well. But I think I hadn't even thought about your point about parking. And having the accessible parking, I can't lose that now. That's just, especially when you mentioned Andy down at the other end, it's totally possible to squeeze some in on that west end of the park. I think that would be a really, really good decision. I've thought about additional docks as well, because long run, I would like to be able to, my perfect day would be pulling up on a friend's boat, since we don't own one, getting off, rinsing our feet off at a host station, and walking to grab food, coming back to the park and having dinner. So additional docks would be good, because I'd love to see people racing to get all the spots full. I have pictured the east side of the park, as you are leaving JC Park and kind of walking into it, as having a terraced area, maybe not an amphitheater, but I've pictured like wide terraces that could be used for seating, or sitting down with your meal if you wanted to put tables and chairs out, but then grass to maintain the environment, and then you could use that in a bunch of different ways. I feel obligated to share Claire's comments because she was very adamant that these were very important. It needs to be bicycle friendly, so we need to have multimodal paths. Well, that was a fun word to teach her. She said that she wanted to see dog stations, little doggy bags, and then water fountains with the human up top and the dog down bottom. Thought that was a great idea. These are really getting in the weeds here. And then also a splash pad, but I told her that we have one closer to our house now, so that might not be a top priority. I think generally it's making sure that we have things that are going to bring people for more than an hour to the park, that we're going to bring people to stay at the park, make a day of it, and give them options is where my mind floats to.
That's great. Thank you.
So, it's not to sound redundant, but we can understand what Abernathy means to the city and to our community, and so just trying to make sure that it does reflect that. So we shared a lot of the same ideas that we would have. I think the one thing that I would probably add is more or less looking from what would bring people to the park and why would they want to stay at the park. Because we have several parks in the city, but what would be unique about this one?
Right.
And being on the lake is unique, but what else can we do? But we also want to make sure we maintain the natural beauty of it as well, and so that we don't destroy the nature, the natural, what makes it unique about it. But also accessible trails. I talked about boardwalks, but when we talk about accessibility, if we have the play areas, making sure that it's the sensor, and making sure that all individuals have access and can enjoy the park. So I know we did that at one of our parks, and so we've made it adaptable. So there's activities for all children who want to come out and enjoy that, but just an all abilities kind of playground area. I think that would be really, really important to have even in that location if you're going to put some play spaces for children. Also, I think John talked about it, but I think it's going to be a good area if we do have a place like what you were saying with possibly a food truck or food establishment, but maybe a place where you can have additional maybe farmers markets type things. And, you can maybe have some pop-up stands on the boardwalk where people can come showcase. Also talk about walk of art, so you can actually showcase and see the creativity of some of our residents and individuals who work with our art center, because we're doing that around the community right now, but I think that would be unique. So you can have some ideas of what we're looking at that. And like I said, the multiple use trail, walking, jogging, biking, making sure everyone can use the park safely, because safety is very, very important. The lighting, and that's important. Then I also talked about recreation, water-wise, because I think we would be remiss if we didn't provide some type of activity for individuals to enjoy. I probably won't, because that's not my thing, but I can invite and let other people know they can rent a kayak or a canoe if they want to get out there on the water and do those type of things. Feel free, I can watch and take pictures from the side. That's what I generally do. But even maybe paddle boats could be an idea to get out there and enjoy the lake. And so it's just another way to enjoy what we're doing here in the city. But then also make sure we clean it up. So I was thinking too, the boardwalks could be made of some other material, but if not, really good wood that will last. Right. And that we're not always having to go out there and repair. Because I think that's one of the negative aspects of the current situation with the boardwalks. And so, but I won't continue, but those were some of the things that I thought we could, in addition to, and I'll send these because I wrote them on the thing that Nathan sent me, so I brought it with me, so I'll just send you those notes.
Perfect. That's great. Thank you very much.
Cool. So, again, a little redundant, but I got probably 3-4 thoughts. I'd like to see what we do be designed with 25 to 50 years in the future in mind. I don't really want to see us designed for 3-5 years out. We need to look at what's going to last and what's going to last generationally. We know restaurants along 123 are going to change. We know some of the surrounding area is going to change. So as much as we can, make this something that will be a part of an evolving city. I was up in Virginia at Sandbridge Beach, and the restaurants all face the beach, and there's a nice boardwalk along the beach. So you don't walk on the inside on the road, you walk along the beach to access the restaurants. When we worked on Dockside, we talked about doing like the Green Crescent Trail from Holiday east-west all the way down to through Abernathy Park to town, to make a connection that goes from residential areas out towards the lake all the way into town. It's just an idea. But if you've got a series of restaurants that start to engage the lake, we can get more of that accessible movement through the city to access either downtown or the restaurants around 123. The other 2 points would be to make it low maintenance. I've been out there and locals have volunteered, contractors and handy folk to replace wood on the docks.
Right.
And it was an almost never-ending process.
Right.
I would prefer personally that we had a little less walkway if it was designed to last for 25 years and not require constant upkeep. Same with the plantings. Our city staff has a lot of parks to take care of. What we do with the vegetation, there are ways of making that much easier, but if we have to go through and mulch this place every year, that can become very hard to keep up with.
Right.
That's really the gist of what I had to add to that.
Those are great comments. Just that time horizon, I think, is a great way to think about it, because it ties into the maintenance comment as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, the longer term you think about how this is going to be used, because this is going to be here in 25 or 50 years, things could be added in the future, but if we make it correctly the first time, the things that we make will last.
I would even challenge, think about it like 100 years from now. How gorgeous is it gonna be? How are we gonna be using it? I think that's a really important call out.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure everyone here can recognize, I don't know how other issues go with this body, but there's a remarkable amount of alignment and really thoughtful ideas that you've shared. So this is great. I mean, this is really good material to work with. Want to sort of open it up. Is there anything that we've talked about internally that we wanted to make sure that didn't come up already? Excuse me. We wanted to touch on tonight?
Well, at first, when we met out there with staff and all, we didn't feel like we could set these guys free until we had a better idea of where y'all's heads were on this, which is why we're here tonight. We'd rather not guess in this point. The other is, I would say that we did think that out there, almost if you moved a lot of the park over towards the west, the water gets deeper and the views get better. Mm-hmm. And there were a lot of really cool opportunities, almost like a pedestrian boulevard going through here with the parking, very easy walk to this beautiful view. And you know, if you wanted to put the pavilion, you could move the Butch Trent Pavilion, or you could build a whole different thing here, just oriented towards that sunset. And then there was almost a natural swimming area right here. That was pretty much all beach. A lot of the comments I heard tonight, I saw there were opportunities out there. Yes, ma'am?
What's the total acreage square footage of the whole footprint together?
I should know that off the top of my head, but I don't.
You
It was
stumped him.
I was-
You stumped him.
You should have known we were gonna ask that at some point.
Because it's much bigger than I thought it was. I thought it was like a little skinny.
He's looking, he's looking.
And then we've talked about parking, but I would encourage like very limited, like maybe accessibility parking, because to design this, I love your ideas to make it literally where almost everybody could walk to it from downtown. So your biggest draw is people walking to this park, not driving to this park.
Right.
We want to take a lot of our land with a big parking lot.
Yeah.
I think it's your accessibility parking versus if you're designing this in a way people can walk from literally the whole way from downtown to this park, and it'd be so cool.
Right.
You're still looking?
Please be sure if you haven't already written these out or typed these out, I don't want to lose anything we heard tonight, so if you don't mind taking a moment
taking notes.
to capture your thoughts. You better be pretty fast, because there was a lot of great thinking, a lot of good comments.
I'll send mine, Andy, sorry on the delay.
So,
12 acres, and it's a half-mile of water frontage.
Nice.
Ooh,
Appreciate it.
nice.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Nathan. That's a big chunk, y'all. This is exciting.
nice.
Would you mind reiterating, now that we have more members of the public here, what those public meetings are gonna be like? Just really quickly, like the stations?
Yeah.
I need to go back. real
Sorry,
quick
I
on
just
there.
wanna make sure that we tell as many people as we possibly
You
can.
got it. You got it.
Right, it was a little bit small on the slide itself, but I'll just recap.
Perfect.
We're going to, we have some welcoming and orientation activities, and then we want to hear about people's impression of Abernathy Park today. And then in addition to their impressions, we want to dive a little deeper and focus on what are the strengths. So what do people really love about it, whether it's those sunset views or access to the water. We're going to share the guiding principles and goals and ask people to affirm what have we missed so that we get a good sense if we're on the right track with those. We have a red dot, green dot exercise. Green dots where you feel safe and most comfortable within the park. Red dots maybe a little less so. They'll help us understand where areas that need some improvement in terms of safety and accessibility. And then we're going to ask people to look forward and think about the refresh of Abernathy Park and what are the features and activities that they would most like to see there. And then we're going to have a My Perfect Day at Abernathy Park exercise where people can describe, what that day looks like, who they're with, what they're doing, and we'll get a lot of great ideas from that. And then we have some fun activities for kiddos to contribute their ideas as well.
Andy, I want you to do one thing. I want you to reiterate again our relationship with the Corps of Engineers on this project right now.
We have an ongoing relationship with Tim Crabtree at the Savannah District. He has been meeting with us from the very beginning when this was just a concept. And it kind of tied in because our lease had expired. We were already working with them to renew the existing lease. And I told him, look, we're looking at some potentially huge changes here. How does that work? And he says, well, you can always submit a site redevelopment plan. And he said he just advised that they be kept informed throughout the process so that at the end, everything's approved. And then it's just a matter of sending in the redevelopment plan, but they've been a part of the approvals the whole time.
Good.
And
They
they will
help
be
you
at
confirm.
they'll be at the first
Oh, good.
workshop too.
Yeah.
The point is, we've been talking to them and they know what's going on.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
We've reached out to Tim for informal questions and comments as well as set up formal reviews in our process as well.
Now, you said we're gonna have a second engagement,
Yes, in October.
and that would be, is it gonna be similar to this one, or it's separate, it'll be different?
It'll be similar in that we're going to have some interactive exercises for everyone to share their input, but we'll actually have some ideas for the park, which is going to be the exciting one. So people will get to share their thoughts on how we're doing in terms of translating their ideas into the physical park space.
I would just probably recommend if we could do it maybe at a different location, just to kind of move it around. So, because I know with the Clemson Next, we did it at different locations.
Yeah, that
So that's how
thought
we
came
were
up
able to
earlier as
get,
well. That's a great
Get
idea.
more input, so I would think we would want to do that second one someplace else if we can do that.
Berkeley somewhere or
Okay.
something.
Yeah, that's great. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you for the time.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Very much.
All right, it is 6:25. We will reconvene at 6:30, our normal city council, so we'll take a 5-minute break, 6-minute break to be exact. All right, welcome to our city council meeting. This, not a normal date, but August 12th here at 6:30, well, so technically 6:31. We call this meeting to order. Hope everybody had a great weekend. I know it's Tuesday, so I'm used to saying that on Monday, but hope you had a great weekend. We'll start off with the invocation and pledge allegiance. So if you don't mind, please rise. You are welcome to join me in prayer. We all wish to ensure the best quality of life for our citizens and the community. Let us work together to envision and meet our potential for the greatest good. Help us to anchor and unify ourselves as a team to support the city of Clemson reaching its highest and best potential. Finally, continue to guide us to work collaboratively together in the presently and in the future. Amen. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. You may be seated. All right, we'll jump right into public session. I'll turn it over to the Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a reminder for the public, this is an opportunity for you to address council about anything that is not already on the agenda. If you would like to speak about something that is on the agenda, we will make sure we offer time when we get to that point. But for now, we will open the floor. Jeremiah, did anybody sign up ahead of time?
No, ma'am.
Okay, great. Well, then the floor is the public's, if anybody would like to speak. While we wait to see if anybody wants to speak, we did have one comment submitted online via the My Civic app. This comes from Miss Susanna Shantz at 309 Oak Street. She writes, opposed to any further development proposals in downtown Clemson until there is a thorough assessment of the traffic, business, and environmental impact of the hub and MODA developments after residents move in. And again, that's Miss Susanna Shantz at 309 Oak Street. And I'll leave public comment open for anybody who'd like to speak. Okay.
All right. We'll close out public session then. Next is the possible approval of the August 4th, 2025 minutes. Would somebody like to make a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any comments, discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Thank you very much. Next, we'll jump right into reports and discussion. First is to receive a presentation about Clemson University's comprehensive parking overview and the Tigers Commute app. Dan, you coming on up. You just jump right in. So Dan Hoffman is Director of Parking and Transportation for Clemson University. Thank you for being here. And I have your flyer here too, Dan.
Okay, thank you.
The options are different. Let's go here.
There you go.
Yeah, let's go here. Thank you.
Good evening, and thank you very much for this opportunity. I want to thank Andy and Mayor Halfacre and Julio Hernandez for bringing us together. I am a co-chair on the Transportation Committee for the JCUAB, and I'm very, very excited to be able to report out on what I'm going to be talking about. I'm the Director of Parking and Transportation Services for the last 14 years, but I have been elsewhere. I have been Chief of Parking Control in New York City, DOT, Deputy Commissioner for the City of Boston Transportation Department. I was Parking Operations Manager at Harvard University, where I thought that was the crown jewel of my career, but Clemson is. And I was General Manager for Last Parking out in Chicago for a year, managing the largest public-private meter operation. They did a concession agreement, and I managed that for 13 months. So I've been around the block. I've got a very unique resume, distinct experience with municipalities, so I was very, very excited when I came to Clemson, because dealing with the city is something, you know, I think I know how to do. I've been on that side of it, and I know some of the struggles and problems that you've had on your side with parking and transportation services. What I want to talk about first is a little bit about the university. We are still a top 25 public university. Our population, these numbers might be a little off, I don't have this year's numbers. Population about 35,000, 29,000 students. They're not all here. Everybody thinks all those 29,000 students. They're statewide. Majority of them are here. We also look at what comes to Clemson by looking at who pays the transit fee, because the transit fee is something that only students with at least 1 credit hour come on campus. So the numbers are a little bit lower. Faculty and staff numbers are pretty accurate. 1,400 acres. I was ready for that question. Permits, about 24,000 permits a year. Citations, a negative, but you know, we need to have enforcement to regulate parking. Non-gated surface lots. This is something that is very unique for Clemson. Most universities have parking decks, okay, and I'll talk a little bit about where we're going. But we've held off for a long, long time, and there's a lot of schools that are envious of us because there's a lot of debt service that comes along with that, and permit prices go up as a result of that. So just a breakdown, 12,942 off-street and then on-street spaces, so we have a mixture. Pretty robust operation, but I can't do anything without this team. This team is spectacular. In 40 plus years that I've been doing this, is the best team I've ever had. The mantra is none of us is smarter than all of us. We need each other. We just had a couple of changes in staff, and people are stepping up to fill those gaps, and this is the team that can do it. So I'm really proud of them. So the 1,200 space parking garage that we've been hearing about, it is going to be located at Williamson Road and Perimeter Road. That shot on the left is a view from the C2 parking lot looking back at it. The other one is coming down Williamson Road, so it's really going to be a fantastic structure. We're really excited about it. It's going to be 6 floors. It's going to be mixed use, and majority of it will more than likely be students. Want to talk about transit, because transit, when I came here, people said, should we build a garage? That was a question in my interview, and I said, what are we doing to reduce cars on campus before we even get into that? And we've held off for a long time. We've worked very hard on trying to reduce demand on campus. And just a statistical fact, when freshman classes come in, about 50% of them bring their car. And you know, we've been working with them to try and give them other options like airport shuttles, different things that we do to try and entice them not to bring a car. But when you look at these numbers, you know, Tiger Transit, that's our campus transit. We're a hybrid system. We're one of the only schools that have the hybrid system that we have right now. We have on campus, we have our own buses. We run a contract with TransDev, who also helps us with campus transit. We run park and ride service, the outer perimeters of campus, try and discount parking to get folks off the main campus. The city campus is the key to our success. You bring all the students to our campus. And we're trying to get more and more students there. And 2 years ago, we came up with the Gold Route, which actually that year, transit increased 33% when you added the Gold and the Red together, which was great. So we're continuing to try and do that. And then in the evening, we have an on-demand service. It's called Nightline. And these are the number of riders. So you're talking about over 1.5 million riders, you know, between these systems. So this is tremendous. This keeps cars off the campus in a lot of cases, and we're really excited to continue to grow that. And we're going to continue working with Campus to expand the system as much as we can. One of the things I want to talk about is we don't just say, okay, we're going to run this route. There are a lot of numbers and data that we look at. We do data dashboards and decisions, okay? That's been something that we've been doing since I've gotten here. And as we have grown, software has gotten more sophisticated. We can get it down to breaking down by hourly. How many people getting on buses hourly? What's the capacity look like? These are things that we've been working with CapBus on right-sizing the system during different times of the day. So we have AM peak, PM peak. We're talking about maybe running 15-minute service all day long, maybe in the spring. We want more people to be able to use it. So making it a little bit more convenient will help that situation. But looking at the heat map that we have over there, that's kind of an analysis of CapBus that helps us make some decisions. And we don't do anything in a vacuum. We discuss everything with CapBus management. And I've had some very, very good conversations with new transit administrator Brian Fisher, and I think we're on the same page clearly. So we're going to be working very closely together over the next few months and into the next few years. So one of the things that we're known for, we are a smart campus, obviously, but when we look at the parking and transportation operation, we like to look at it as a smart campus. okay? We're doing things that a lot of people aren't doing, and I'll show you in a little bit. Innovative data-driven management, as I've said, efficiencies have increased across the operation, effective use of technologies. We've embedded technologies to improve the experience and provide us with good short-term return on investment. And the most important thing to me that we've been working on is really improving the parking and transportation experience, okay? A lot of people have negative things to say. A lot of people have positive things to say. When somebody says everybody hates you, I don't believe that, because I've got stacks and stacks of complimentary letters and communications that we receive. People do appreciate what we're doing, okay? A lot of times it's the people that put themselves in the wrong position that say we're the bad guys. But we're just protecting, from an enforcement standpoint, we're just protecting the rights of the permit holders, the people that are actually paying to park on campus. So I'm going to play this. Can I get to? No, wait. The whole thing. This is a short video that we got produced through the university. It's called tigerscommute.com. It's an app that we've just released. We've just got an award for it too. So I just wanted to play that real quick. Go ahead.
Tigerscommute.com. Clemson's new unified mobility app has been designed to connect users via app or the web to all things parking and transportation on campus. The Tigers Commute website and app, now available for iOS and Android, features up-to-the-minute information on bus routes, electric charging stations, and e-bike availability, ride sharing, and more. Tigers Commute uses Clemson login credentials and will replace the transit channel of the My Clemson app. For more information, visit tigerscommute.com.
So what this is, we have put a lot of information in our students' hands and our faculty and staff's hands. I'll show you exactly what it is. So there's parking resources in there, there's transit resources, ride sharing. Ride sharing is something we never had. I found this company, it's a Canadian firm, that it was just a ride sharing app. And I talked to them because it's something we wanted to do. It's like you guys can post a ride and somebody could connect with you informally. You didn't have to go through our carpool program. And I talked to them about our My.Clemson app going away. It wasn't going to be supported. It filtered for parking, transit, all different things. They bought into my idea and they saw my vision and they went along and built the whole thing out pretty much for nothing. We're at a position right now where live parking resources will be shown on Wednesday, where we now have parking sensors in all of our parking spaces on campus, the majority of them. So you'll be able to search for real-time parking. If you've been to Clemson and heard the word hunt for parking, it's not gonna, the hunt is over, is the way I'm looking for it. We're gonna be showing you where not to go park because it's full. But you can locate accessible parking, all different permit types. Accessible, metered, and particularly for the city of Clemson, if you're coming to visit, metered parking is probably what you want to look for. And we've made it really convenient to do that. In the app itself, when you're looking at the icon, you click in the icon, and students say, well, I don't know where to park. Well, right now, we put the parking guidelines right in that icon. So you click on it, you can click and go right to our website, and the parking guidelines for that particular permit will show up. We have EV parking on campus, Clemson Bike Share, and this can also be viewed on tigerscommute.com. There's a web version of it as well, so you might want to look at that as well. So really filter for parking, get to where you need. Transit resource is huge, real-time bus tracking. There's several apps out there. We're trying to keep everybody in one app. So we have taken a different approach. Previously, there were APIs, these things called APIs, that were brought in from different softwares. We're taking you right into the web version of each one of these apps by staying in here. You still see the same thing, Passio Go, you've heard about it, Transloc. It shows real-time availability. One thing that students kept asking us for is, what's the schedule? Go to the website. Well, now we've embedded the link right in there. It's there in your hand. So everything is in their hand right now. The last feature is ride sharing, and this is starting to take off. We did a single sign-on approach to close out the public from this. This was concern about students connecting with the public for ride sharing. So we kind of closed the system down to single sign-on. Students can connect with students, faculty and staff can connect with faculty and staff. we don't allow the two of them together. It's just a safety feature, it's a good practice. We talked to a lot of schools about it. And if we want to do a public version, because I don't know if you're going to ask that, all of this is public facing. The ride sharing piece, you have to set up an account and do single sign up, but everything else is available to the public to be able to look at. This is where the rubber meets the road. We've been working on this for years and years, doing a lot of different technology studies and pilots. The final result is a single space sensor that sits in a space. It's the most accurate, probably one of the most expensive, but it is the most accurate, 98.7, 99% accurate. Nothing is 100% accurate, and nothing is really real time. There's always a little latency, so some of the car pull in, takes there maybe 15, 30 seconds for it to pull up. But when you're in the app, you're going to filter for a space type, and you're going to look at an icon that says, okay, there's going to be 50 spaces available in this lot. If you click again, you're going into the lot. So that representation on the right is a graphic of being inside a parking lot and seeing what's available and what's not. So you'll actually get to a space level detail. This is something that no one has done on this scale in North America. We're really proud of it. I've got a ton of universities watching what we're doing. We just came from a conference where the buzz was Clemson University's doing this finally. They've heard me talking about it. So 10,000 single space sensors, employee commuter metered EV and ADA spaces, and even more than that. What's coming next? So in that contract that we have for sensors, we want a digital signage. So we want to display the space counts outside major lots. They gave us an add-on, and this is going to be incredible. I showed this to Brian Fisher, and he loves it. It is a real-time bus map, and it communicates, it's ADA accessible, it displays when the bus is coming. We're going to put it at some of our key locations, but it's real-time. We can send push notifications to it, say we have a weather emergency, and we want to get the notice out that CAT bus service is going to stop at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, get on the bus before that, we can do that. We have other ways to do that as well, but it's just another way to touch people and make sure that people understand what's going on out there. So I do want to bring this up because I'm very proud of this. My staff is what helped us get here. We've been recognized for excellence over the years. This past year was our biggest year. We got recognized. We got an honorable mention from the International Parking and Mobility Institute. It's the largest parking organization in the world, and we all belong to it. We get our certifications from it. Honorable mention for the Tigers Commute app. Everybody was impressed with that. But we also did something only 25 universities in the country, we are one of the 25, have done. There's a certification designation called Accredited Parking Organization, APO. And only 25 universities in the United States have gotten this, and we finally got there. So I feel like we're at the top of the mountain, but we're not standing still. But really proud of this. You had to meet about 300 different criteria for best practices. So I know we're doing things right. We can always do things better, but I'm really excited about what's coming. So with that, if there's any questions.
Questions, comments?
I had to laugh because I was one of those freshmen in my 3 semesters at Clemson that would leave at the last minute and park in the wrong spot, and my mom would get the bills on my statement because I never paid them. So this would have saved me. I think that's such a good invention, innovation, faculty, students alike. Yeah, that's killer. I love it.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Really appreciate that. We're hoping to change that experience.
And I can just say, working with Dan all these years, he has been truly awful, thinking ahead, always thinking about the next achievement, the next.
Well, like I said, none of us is smarter than all of us, so it's my whole team.
The whole team.
But we have to put it together,
when
right?
they were putting these orange fences in, so we're amazed to see how all that goes. So thank you for all of that.
I also have noticed on social, there have been like Facebook groups of people looking to carpool and ride share, just like what this will solve for in a much safer way. So I think it'll be great.
We can run incentive programs. We ran an incentive program in the spring to download the app. We have 10,000 downloads on this app now, which is tremendous. We're hoping to double it this year. You know, we get new students coming in, but I think we're going to double it. I think once we start pushing out this real-time parking, everybody's going to download it for that reason. But we're excited about the future.
Now a student can't say there's no parking. They can
No,
pull up.
and you know
There
what?
is a
And I
space
told
right there.
my customer service staff gets those calls, right? So I went over it with them
Mom and
today. I
Dad
showed
called
them the
them
new
upstairs.
mock-up of just pull this up and they're gonna say no parking. Say, where are you? And say, okay, you can look at the lot. It's gonna display number of spaces outside of it. And if it says 0, you just tell them where to go. There's parking here and there. We can help people.
Great.
But first, we'll tell them to download the app.
Yep.
So we don't have to call us.
I think it's great.
Great, thank you.
When will the parking deck be completed?
I'm sorry.
The parking deck, when's it to be completed?
It's, I have the dates on it. It started in May and it's gonna be scheduled for the fall of '27.
So
Yeah.
so
yeah.
2 more
One of the
seasons.
things that's holding it up or making it take a little bit longer is there's gonna be a walkway that's gonna go across from the deck over Williamson Road over to Lee Hall. So it's gonna be above ground, so when you go on the deck and you can walk out and you can walk across. Yeah, it's across from Lee Hall. If you turn right up from Perimeter, on the right-hand side is Lee Hall, the deck will be on the left. So there'll be a walkway to go across
Okay.
over the
So
road.
you will no longer have to traverse the hill.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, because once you get on that side and go through Lee Hall, it's a little bit more local. But there'll be bus service there as well, so you'll be able to take the bus to get to the other side of campus as well, so it'll work out nicely.
Well, thank you.
I was gonna ask, the times lately where I'm volunteering or working with young people,
Yes, sir.
I noticed that when they turn 16, it was like a rite of passage in my day to get a driver's license, and these kids like don't care.
Notice that.
I mean,
I've
is
been
that-
reading
Are
about
you
that.
seeing that trend in with the incoming?
They don't want to drive. They don't want to drive, which is good. You know,
cars
the
off, yeah.
culture needs to
Freshman
change.
living on campus
You know,
helps as well.
in the cities I've worked, you know, my kids used to walk out the door, grab the bus to go to the subway, to go to school. The culture's different here, obviously, but we need to try and influence behavior, and we're trying to do that through incentive programs, to try and get them in the bus and use other modes of transportation. That's what the app is there for. It's giving you all these unified mobility commute options.
Well, Dan, we appreciate the
Thank you.
update.
Okay.
And we appreciate you mentioning Brian, he's in the back there.
There he is.
Appreciate him being here,
Here he
as
is.
well as
I didn't
DJ.
know you were-
Yeah.
As well as DJ Laws is here as our
DJ.
a community advocate for us, so we
Absolutely. Thank
appreciate
you.
y'all,
Well, I
the
appreciate
update,
it.
we appreciate
Thank
it.
you again. for
Thank
the
you,
opportunity.
Dan.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
All right. Next is to discuss a recommendation from the Sustainability Committee to include considerations for energy efficient appliances when making purchases for city buildings. Eunice?
There's one before that. Can I do that?
Oh, yeah, if you want, you can go to C, discuss a recommendation,
Oh, well.
prioritize construction work on the Green Crescent
Oh, I thought
Trail.
that was ahead.
You can do that, absolutely. You got the floor, Eunice, it's all you. You got B and C.
My
Yes, ma'am.
name's Eunice Lehmacher. I'm on the Sustainability Committee, which y'all created. We haven't been alive quite a year. We've spent quite a bit of time learning, having experts come in, and talking to your staff. You have great staff. We have a couple little groups working on things like the wildlife certification for the city, preserving trees, and energy efficiency. And we passed a couple of motions. And the first one we passed on February 12th, and it's taken us a while to figure out how to bring it to you. So this will be short because you've already done it. But we passed a motion. We met with Chad Carson. He apologizes he's not here. He said his daughter's volleyball game, and I said, excellent excuse. But he would have loved to be here. I don't know if any of you have been out at the Doodle Trail. It was built 10 years ago, but if you go out to Easley now, you'll see some very interesting developments, little coffee shops. It's really taking a part of Easley out to Pickens and developing it. And as you know, that's what we're doing with the Green Crescent Trail. Chad asked us back in January when we met with him to bring this motion to encourage you to work on, which you are doing, the 2 segments all the way down Berkeley, and I know that's coming, so we don't even have to discuss that, and that's great. And then the other section, the Nettles to Ashley Deering Park, is a priority as well. Chad told me that the holdup currently is there's 3 property owners that have to sign something. He's one of the property owners. He's obviously going to sign, but it just takes longer than we thought. So but all the owners have verbally agreed. And we want those put in place as soon as possible. It was our hope that they could start being built in 2025. So I know that the one along Berkeley Road is, but the Nettles to Ashley Deering, does anybody know that's not going to start in 2025? That's what our motion says, that we would try to get that. Is it up here? Oh, you have the other one up here. But that they would be able to start working on that section. Does anybody know?
Well, we're working on getting easements from the property owners.
Three property
Right.
owners. So
That's
Chad's,
moving well.
yeah, Chad's approved it, and there's a detail that he can't sign until that's done. And then the other property owner said they'd sign after he signed it, and it's taken longer than he thought. But once we have those easements, which we expect will be in the next month or so, unless there's a lot of red tape with the,
Typically not, it's just a matter of just getting property owners to agree on terms.
no, they have agreed, but after that, then we can start doing the engineering work and.
It's
do
already
this.
underway.
Okay, so that was our ask.
So how are you gonna cross, Issaquena?
How are we crossing Issaquena? I don't know that. There's a
Maybe
map.
Nathan, you want to come up? Yeah, there we go. There we go, Eunice, we got.
Saved by Nathan.
Better term is how are we safely crossing it?
Yeah. So I can tell you what we've done today. So we're working through easements. We've been working with Chad, Carson. We've been working for the 4 property owners that we have to get the easements from, kind of back easement, following the sewer line, getting around to Nettles. The first plan of what we're going through, we've been talking with DOT for about a year. They're planning to repave Berkeley Drive sometime in the spring of '26. The goal is to have the trail in and constructed before they repave that section of Berkeley. That's one of the reasons we're prioritizing that. One of the goals with the first plan is also to get all the way down to the Berkeley Orchard, which I don't know if everyone's aware that we've purchased that property that's right there at the corner of Berkeley and Issaquena. We're going to use that property as a good crossing point. One of the biggest things with Issaquena is making sure that we have the site distances available. So I'm sure everyone's been on campus. We have one on Edgewood, the RFFB, so the RFFBs is it's the little buttons and the flashy signs and everything. Sorry if I use engineering terms. Yeah, the flashing signs, jazz hands. The biggest thing is just making sure that we have enough sight distance so that cars have an opportunity to slow down. So Greenville's had a lot of success with this. District 3 has had a lot of success with this in DOT. So especially on roads that have kind of high traffic, Issaquena has a lot of volume of traffic on it. And so it just is an opportunity for pedestrians or cyclists or whoever to hit the button. It flashes, brings everyone to a stop. Nice safe crossing. Like I said, this is one of the advantages of the quarterly meetings that we've been having, is that we've been able to have these long discussions with DOT about, hey, where are y'all willing to put these? How can we put these? How can we work together on coming up with a good solution for crossing Issaquena? We're going to have another one on Berkeley, and then DOT's actually said if we can get the trail to Pendleton Road, they'll work on getting the same RFFBs on Pendleton Road as well. So working, it's a lot of conversations to get to it, but we've kind of come with a general idea of where the safe locations are, and we're working towards that. We're working on design, hoping to have the design submitted to DOT mid-September for them to do their encroachment permit process. Takes about a month for that, and then once we have that approved, we'll go forward with bidding phase 1 of this project, which is from Frontage Road down to Berkeley Orchard. The loop on Berkeley Orchard will include demo of the house and things like that. And then phase 2 will be, once we hopefully we'll have the encroachment permits, and not the encroachment, the easements that are necessary from the property owners to be able to kind of take the trail and take it all the way to Nettles. And
is it going to go along Issaquena, or is it going to go through Delwood?
So it actually doesn't go either. So there's a sewer easement on the back side of all those.
Other side.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
it's going like around.
We have one of the property owners has agreed to allow us to basically go straight through their property. And then it will kind of parallel 18 Mile Creek.
Got it.
And then the unique way that DOT works is that we can't add concrete to bridges because when they design it for a standard weight. But we can have a trail that ends before a bridge and begins right after a bridge, but we have a 12-foot wide area that you just have to kind of sweep every so often. So we've come up with some creative solutions. We've got verbal agreements with DOT to move forward with them, and then we're going to take that to bring it to an area, and then work our way to getting connection to the pedestrian bridge that's over Nettles as well. So,
Thank you.
Thank you for doing that on the fly.
Nathan?
We appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks.
There's excellent staff in this city. Y'all have done a great job, and really appreciate that. Thank you. So we were just encouraging you to do that. Any other comments or questions on that, which would probably be for him and not for me? Okay. So anyway, we passed that back in February, but you're already working on that. That's fantastic. So then you do things before we come to you? keep that up. And then last month, so on July 9th, we talked about energy efficiency in terms of when things are purchased. You're probably aware. So who we talked to was Ron Stewart. He's your public building supervisor. And he met with us in our working group on this. Fabulous guy. He's already working on making things more efficient, like LED light bulbs, all kinds of stuff, HVACs and so on. But you're aware that when you buy something, you have to get 3, what is it called, estimates? And then you pick one of those. And what we're interested in here with this motion that we passed, and I did bring a copy of what we passed, if you want that, it got sort of shortened in the agenda, is that you could maybe, in some cases, the city staff, both Ron but other city staff too, could choose the more expensive option for something that's more efficient. So in other words, it costs more money now, but it saves money down the road. So Ron right now is looking at, and he's not here, so he can't tell us about the HVAC in here, right? So you might get 3 estimates for that. I understand he's looking at 2 different ones, which would help with this heating problem we have in here and why I brought a sweater. What if there could be an even more efficient one, that there could be some extra money? So in your procurement manual, you would have a line saying when you're purchasing, so the way we put it in there, if it additional 25% of the purchase cost allows you to save that difference over the course of the next 10 years, buy it, and then it will save money for 20, potentially 30 years, right? So you would have to, or your staff, Allie, Andy, et cetera, would have to figure out the actual numbers, but we're wanting to spend a bit more. I'll give you an example. I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but when you get a water heater, you can get 3 estimates of water heaters, but nowadays there are heat pump water heaters. Super efficient, cost a bit more, but it's gonna save the city tons of money over the life of the water heater and last longer, right? They're not this tank water heater system. So to give Ron and people like him the ability to do that. So would you like, it's not quite written right, so I wrote it after talking to Allie, I wrote it as a writer so that several times a year you could do that, but would you like to see what we actually passed? It's on, if you get bored in a meeting, it's on dementia education on the back, but, it's a sustainability.
You're not supposed to say that,
So I recycle.
They never, nobody gets bored, come on.
Yeah. I'm not bored. Do you have any questions about what we're after there? That you would spend a bit more even than the 3 estimates, but perhaps 25% more, and thereby save money over the course of the next 10 to 20 years. Spend more now to save later.
Ms. Eunice, only thing I would have to say is when you are the 25% more for the energy efficiency and looking at the better bills down the road, you need to be more realistic with the length of the appliance life. It used to be 15 years for a refrigerator. It used to be 15 years for a water heater. It's not that anymore. It might be 7. So I'm just saying, just be a little bit more realistic and say, okay, well, if we have it for 7 to 10 years, we're still going to save this amount of money instead of 15 to 20. Is that?
Sure. And of course, I and the Sustainability Committee won't be making those decisions. We have experts like Ron Stewart making those decisions. So what we're trying to do, and he probably knows that refrigerators last this long, HVACs last this long. I do know if you buy a better quality thing, it will last even longer. And of course, that can cost almost twice as much sometimes. So I'm relying on the staff to know that, which they do. They know way more than I do. I'm just here saying, let's give them the ability to spend more to save in the future.
I wonder if there's almost like a formula, kind of building off of the life expectancy. Obviously, like HVAC is gonna be different than a fridge.
Of course.
If we could come up with a formula for if life expectancy of appliance is 7 years, then here's the threshold. And that way we're not stuck at 25% in 10 years, and it allows flexibility for the purchasing team.
And we just put some sample numbers in so you would have something to work from.
Yeah.
But I'm assuming whoever writes the procurement manual could put this in, and Andy suggested, which is great, it shouldn't just be the public buildings, but just in general, energy efficiency across the board saves tax dollars, and it saves buying more appliances and or other stuff. So who's the person that would be doing that? working on the procurement manual, and how do we get it on their list?
Is working on that. When we look at energy efficiency
Manager's
stuff,
in the
we've been
back.
looking at it for years. We don't really look at the purchase price. We look at what it's going to do to our current operation cost versus what it would be with it. A simple example is in the parking deck. We did not have LED lights in the parking deck, but they were a little more expensive, but it cut the power bill by 50%.
Which accomplishes exactly what you guys are trying to
That's
do.
what we're saying.
Which one's more expensive?
Right,
Yeah.
right.
And in the parking deck in other places like the tennis courts that worked, but in this building it didn't. So when Ron brought you, let's change the lights in this building, it was over $30,000. And so that was more than fit in the budget.
Save a couple thousand on the light and then have double the power bill.
Yeah.
Yeah. Energy Star that program used to be used for some of that, for appliances and that, but they're not sure that Energy Star is gonna stick
You
around.
mean the thing on my little TV sticker when I buy
It's-
it?
I don't think it is around it. I don't,
They're talking about that whole
Yeah.
program's getting shut
Shut,
down
yeah,
now,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, we've met with Ron, and we know he's always thinking about energy efficiency, and when he wants to buy something, he says exactly that. This will save this much money, that's why we're buying it. But we wanted to have him do even more of that, and he liked this idea that occasionally, maybe not every time, so always he looks at energy efficiency. Great, you got good staff. But occasionally, we could give him even more money to do even more efficient. That's what we're asking, to go into procurement.
Thank you.
I think these are
Thanks.
exactly
Thank
what
you.
we were.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate the comment, appreciate the committee's work. Thank you very much. Please relay that we greatly
Eunice,
appreciate
do
it.
you want these papers back, or are they ours to keep? Okay.
they're ours. Okay, thank you. Your sweater, Miss Eunice.
Thank you.
Nathan, you're back up. So next is to discuss the installation of a low-cost traffic calming device along Azalea Drive.
One thing I wasn't sure of before, we did already have a public meeting for all the residents on Berkeley Drive on July 8th for the multi-use paths. It was attended.
Yes, it was nice. It was
But we had,
more people there than I thought was going to be there.
we had a good discussion about
Do you
it.
think it was representative of the neighborhood, of the?
We had about 10 people there.
We had about 10 people. Like I said, it was, yeah.
So,
And the word spread very quickly.
sorry, I just wanted to highlight that. This is for our low-cost traffic calming device. So one of the policies that we have is for people to be able to request. It used to be only speed humps, and then we've changed that policy to now giving us a little bit more freedom to help when when everything doesn't meet the requirements of a speed hump. So our general requirement for a speed hump is that the speeds, when measured by either device, or we have a new new survey method that we're actually working on implementing now, it has to be the 85th percentile, which means that 85% of the cars that pass the device or pass through the area have to be going at or below that speed limit. It has to be 5 miles per hour or faster than the posted speed limit. So for Azalea, the posted speed limit is 25 miles an hour. The 85th percentile was 24 miles an hour. So 85% of all the cars are going less than the speed limit. So to kind of take everyone's feelings into this, to be able to allow for perceived speeding to be addressed, we basically said that we have the option to expand our toolkit from just speed humps to traffic calming devices. We've had a effective meeting with we had a great meeting with the neighborhood. We had 2 meetings that night. One of them, we're having to go back to the neighborhood to have discussions with them. But this one was very productive. The neighbors that came were excited about the opportunity for it. These are what are called chokers. So it's similar to what we just installed on Sloan Street when we did the parking area. It's going to be part of what's going to be installed on rigs, and then these are the low-cost version of that. So not a lot of concrete. Gives us an opportunity to use some yellow bolt-down curbs and some reflective what we call RPM, so reflective pavement markings, and a little bit of paint, and to kind of show what the choker would do. We'll monitor it over the year, and then next year, if we see a decrease after the installation, would make a recommendation for it to be made a little bit more permanent, whether that's through concrete islands that are with some plantings, or even just a concrete island on either side of it. So kind of the idea behind it, but I'm here for questions.
What was the neighborhood? Oh, I'm sorry, Alma.
How about the success on Sloan Street? I mean, have you, with the other chokers you've
Yeah.
put in, have they worked, or have you?
So we've not had the
tracking it
opportunity.
now?
We've not had the opportunity to track that one
Okay.
yet. I will say we've not got any complaints about it. So like I consider that like a pretty high win. I think there was some misunderstanding of what the goal of the concrete island was, but initially, but after everyone learned the traffic patterns, we've not had any complaints. And it's functioned well. I'll say that I've met people on each side, and we've been able to stop and kind of choose who goes through it. That's kind of the idea of the chokers, and it just slows you down a little bit. And so I try to tell everybody that the kind of goal for these alternative traffic calming measures is not a speed hump where it's like physically making you, if you don't want to tear your car up to slow down. It's to make you have to pay attention to driving. And when you pay attention to driving, you're going to pay attention to your speed. It kind of reduces your speed.
Well, I think
Well, that's successful then.
that
Yeah.
when people see a speed hump, they just speed up more in between them, and they don't actually slow down their driving, and this is probably way more efficient at what you're trying to accomplish. What kind of feedback did you get from the neighborhood in that meeting?
They wanted to see if we can install more.
Great, okay.
We've looked, I will say before I brought this to y'all, we looked at it. The driveway locations are pretty tight in that neighborhood, so these are fairly long, they're about 80 feet long, so it's very hard to find a good location. Azalea kind of lends itself because you have a creek on one end of it, you have a high-powered Duke line that has already a dedicated easement on it, and those are the two locations where we're proposing these to be.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. I think that's your last time. Yeah, I think so, Nathan. All right. Next is staff reports. Andy.
I'm referring to Mr. Jackson.
All right, Jeremiah.
We've got two things. First thing is scheduling a public hearing for the next city council meeting for the 398 project. We've already had two public hearings scheduled, so we'll just add this one on to that as well. They're all three going to be at 5:30. We'll do the arterial fences and buffer yards, and then move on to the 398 college project, and we'll have discussion for that item as well in that same meeting, that council meeting.
Which one is that?
September 2nd.
And it's starting at 5:30?
5:30.
We're going to do all that?
Yes, ma'am.
3 public hearings in one session.
Yes, the other two are stuff that Jacob's doing. They're minor changes, so those should not last very long, but that's.
There will also be a discussion item for 398 as well, so we can carry it over.
Okay, okay.
That's my concern, was that amount of time wouldn't be enough to hear from the public, so that's good. Okay.
Also have the next PCMA meeting is on the 26th at 6:45 in Pickens. You just want to get with me and let me know if you're able to make it or not. RSVP purposes.
What's that again?
The 26th.
26, 6:45 at the Tavern 53, 1018 Country Club in Pickens. Is that? Is that it?
That's all I got.
Well, thank you. All right.
Before we move on, Amy, could you, there was good information shared in the meeting about Abernathy Park earlier. Can you share with people in attendance about the relationship with the Corps and how we're communicating with them on any changes?
Sure. A year or so ago, our lease at Abernathy was already going to be expiring, so we needed to renew it, and I told them that we were looking at potentially doing some major redevelopment. And they said, no problem, we can help you put together the redevelopment plan. They just requested to be part of the process and involved, so that as we went along, they were giving their feedback. So that at the end, our project at the end would be compliant. And they will be at our public input meeting.
On the 26th?
Yes.
Thank you. Anything else?
No, sir.
Thank you. No, sir, okay. All right, policy action. Just remember a 2-minute limit per speaker. First is consider second reading of a new city ordinance to regulate the use of golf carts in the city. Chief.
Mayor, Council, the second reading, there was no changes from the first reading. If you have any questions or concerns, I'm here to answer.
Questions or comments for Chief? Comments from the public?
To take advantage, I know it was asked at the last meeting what the university's plans were, and I was told something, I don't know.
DJ just left.
DJ just left. Do you know what?
Put an emergency order to change regulations. I don't know what your question is.
Has it been passed?
I'm not sure. Don't know the answer.
Okay. They put an emergency order in at the state level to allow for nighttime driving with the provisions.
I'm hoping, I think our goal was to get it done before football.
Okay.
So I'm pretty sure it's going to pass.
So that's on track of what I was been told and reported at the first reading.
Okay. Comments? Thank you, Chief.
My name's Elaine Messeri. I live at 204 Wren Street in Clemson. And I just have some comments about the golf cart. When the state of South Carolina recently passed golf cart restrictions, my question was, how many Clemson golf cart owners are aware of the specifics in the new laws? Evidently, not many, as I have documented several violations, not to mention the ones that have been reported to me by others. Specifically, observance is the specific observance is about toddlers that have been sighted unbelted in these golf carts. The concern here is that one slight bump or hit is going to possibly send that small passenger into the path of traffic. Can you imagine what could happen at night? It seems to me that before the city allows nighttime use, that it examines how effectively these restrictions can be enforced during the daylight. Remember that the initial reason for allowing golf carts day or night only on barrier islands was because of the very definition of a barrier island, which means they have few, if any, cars. Once again, let's be proactive about this golf cart ordinance and not fly by the seat of our pants on this one issue, which is very important. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm looking at the clock too.
He never started it.
I was like, okay.
She was definitely.
I told Jeremiah, he's gonna drive this.
Okay.
Did you know that?
Surprise.
She was less than 2 minutes, that's what's right.
Oh, yeah, no. I'm just making sure we're consistent. So, okay. Any other comments? Would somebody like to make a motion?
I make a motion that we approve the second reading of the new city ordinance to regulate the use of golf carts in the city.
Second?
Okay. Comments? Discussion? All right, all in favor, raise your right hand. Any opposed? All right, thank you very much. Next is consider second reading of ordinance change for the overnight parking locations to include all public parking spaces in section 1811.1 of the City Code of Ordinance. I don't see Rebecca, so I see Nathan.
Rebecca had a meeting with her
yeah.
children this
Okay.
evening,
Okay.
so I'm taking her place. Nothing has changed since the last ordinance. This just allows us to expand the program from the Key Street deck to the other decks in town.
Thank you for the reminder. All right, questions or comments for Nathan?
Just, I know I said it
Yeah.
last time, and it was talked about in the meeting before, but just to make sure that the public's aware, this is the same rule that was already in place elsewhere, just expanding it to
Correct.
the additional deck.
Correct.
Yes, thank you. Comments from the public? Nathan, you know you gotta come back
I know,
up.
I was gonna let you.
All right. Would somebody like to make a motion?
I make a motion that we approve the second reading of the ordinance change for overnight parking locations to include all public parking spaces in section 18-11.1.
Second.
Comments, discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All right, thank you very much. Next is to consider second reading of the ordinance change to establish a new parking violation in section 1817, special event parking of the City Code of Ordinance.
have no changes to this ordinance either, but I will give an antidote that we have had numerous calls about the game on August 30th about potentially parking in our parking deck, so this is pertinent.
Okay.
And this is to make sure, sorry, again, for clarity, that the fee is not less than the actual cost of parking for the day, right? So
Correct. The fee is $40 to park in the parking deck. Parking begins at 7 a.m. And goes obviously through until the end of the game. What had happened was the fee for parking in the deck was $15 if you did it overtime, so this increases the fee to $50, so there's actually a penalty for cheating the system.
Thanks again. All right, comments from the public? Would somebody like to make a motion?
I make a motion that we approve the second reading of an ordinance change to establish a new parking violation in section 18-17 for special event parking.
Second.
Comments, discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All right, thank you very much. Next, consider first reading of ordinance amending the business license ordinance class scheduled as required by Act 176 of 2020. Connie, we're not mean.
No, you're not.
By the way, she said that the last time in a facetious way. I'm giving her a hard time. In a good way.
Because I said that, y'all moved the meeting up a week, so instead of getting a week in between, I'm here again this week, so. No, thank y'all for having me, thank you for being here. And as we discussed last week, this is an amendment to the business license ordinance that we are required to do by state law. And it's done biannually, every other year. The ordinance amendment and the appendix that is attached to it are provided to us by the MASC, so. Nothing has changed necessarily since last week.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Comments from the public? All right. Would somebody like to make a motion?
I make a motion that we approve the first reading of an ordinance amending the business license ordinance class schedule as required by Act 176 of 2020.
Second.
Comments? All right, all in favor, raise your right hand. All right, thank you very much. Next, consider first reading of ordinance amending Chapter 6, Court and Criminal Procedure, specifically Section 6.2, Appointment of Municipal Judges, and Section 6.4, Clerk of the City Code. I do not see the judge here, so.
Nikki's not here, but there's been no changes made to it.
Okay. Comments from the public?
And what it was she was wanting an employee already to be able to have more responsibility and get trained for that position, correct?
Well said. Right.
Okay.
Yes. Well said. Thank you. All right. Comments, discussion, comments from the public? Would somebody like to make a motion?
Go ahead.
Okay, I make a motion that we approve the amending Chapter 6, Court and Criminal Procedure, specifically Section 6-2, Appointment of Municipal Judges, and Section 6-4, Clerk Court of the City Code.
Second.
Comments or discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All right, thank you very much. Next, consider first reading of PUD 000-391-2025, proposed plan development Varsity. Nathan, well, Jacob.
Yep.
There you go.
So, let's see. I think this is a fairly lengthy document, so I'm not going to do a full reading of everything in it. You guys have had a chance to go through it. But it is a rezoning from an RM1 to a PD. It is 17 acres, and it is a development that consists of 423 rental beds in total. And it's a 1-to-1 parking ratio. I'm going to let the developer kind of go through the project as a whole, but as you will see in your packet, this received a unanimous recommendation from the Planning Commission on May 12th. So I wanted to just kind of give an opportunity to say why the Planning Commission gave a positive recommendation for this project. Primarily, it was because of how well the developer integrated the project into the neighborhood and how it was viewed as actually enhancing the neighborhood in many ways. So, as you guys are probably aware, there's a new bike path going down 93. This project will bring the bike path 10-foot wide multimodal trail all the way down Newton Street into the project, to the back of the project where there's a public park, and which also butts up against the university's forest back there. So it is seen as a way to kind of integrate almost a destination as you're going for a bicycle ride. It's just gonna be a nice thing. You can picture yourself riding your bike with your family down 93, stopping at Harris Teeter, grabbing something, and then going off and having a little picnic out in the woods. And this is a very well lit trail, 10-foot wide, full lighting the whole way, everything like that. And the developer also, they were conscious of buffers for existing homes, but then they have also left easements to the city for future development. So this is seen as a linchpin for this neighborhood, because this neighborhood has a lot of open space around it. There's a lot of empty land and underdeveloped land in there, so we do anticipate this area as a whole to see more development in the future. So they left easements for future connection points so that we can integrate the whole neighborhood into a multimodal, both bike and walking system in the future as it develops and to integrate in. The developers also proposed to donate over $500,000 to the community fund that in the intention is to help maybe even people in this neighborhood age in place and different things like that, home improvements to, again, enhance this neighborhood as a whole. So the developers looked at to have a scale appropriate for the area. It does have apartment buildings and townhouses, but we're not talking about the large ones you see downtown. Also, it was kind of fascinating to us was after some council members asked, what is the current varsity's makeup as far as undergrad, graduate? And it came back to only 40% were undergrad. And that, you'll see there's been actually a change from when this went for a public hearing. They've increased the number of single one bedrooms because this is viewed as yes, there will absolutely be grad students out there. We're not saying this is not, but undergrads, but this is viewed as a great potential for non-undergrads, working people, all sorts of things. And, truthfully, as a planning staff, we know that projects develop and change over time. We're seeing the reserve, there's lots of developments on the outside of town that were done as student housing that are no longer. This is one of the ones that we see very easily evolving over time. As we, as potentially more housing gets built downtown and, the vertical ones there, well, probably for undergrad, these can transition into non-student housing in the future. And it's being designed in a way to make that a, very possible, very, good thing that I think most people would like to live in this area. And they've also, the buildings themselves are going to go in front of the Board of Architecture Review when they get to the point of actual building design to make sure that they are attractive and integrated properly. So I just wanted to take the opportunity to basically say why the Planning Commission felt this was a good idea and gave you guys a unanimous positive recommendation. And with that, I will turn it over to the developer to give you the nuts and bolts of it.
Appreciate being back. Thank you for having us again. Just going to run right through it because I know you all have looked at it. We've had a couple of hearings in front of you. We've talked about it. I think the two main issues that we had as of the last meeting were the property line issues. It backs up to Fabrica.
Okay, hold on one second. We'll need to close the door.
We need to get people to.
Well,
The property line.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you, Joe.
Thanks, Dave.
All right.
Property line as it backs up to Fabrica, we were able to solve that. We're glad it came out. We're glad we flushed it out. We were able to get it right, and we feel good about that. The other issue was the discovery of a stream on the east side of the north parcel that was had a far greater impact than we had originally imagined. So we were able to make a plan where we moved some buildings. We moved the park over to the stream area. I think, Jeremiah, do you have the site plan available? So we're able to move some buildings and maintain. That was about a 550-foot stream that we were able to move the parking and the buildings off of. And we know that's been, kind of a big concern. We hear it with the LV project. We heard, Eunice was here, mentioned a little bit about the importance of that. I know Tony's probably happy about that. So we feel like it all kind of worked out, relocating that park, maintaining the stream, making it more of a destination with the bike path that we feel good about. So again, going back through it, Lillian, I'm not sure you were here last time, but we were able to get up to 84 one-bedroom units. That comes out to about 43% of our total dwelling count. Feel good about that. Still exploring ways to add more twos, which again, leverage themselves more to the non-undergrad. We're maintaining roughly the same density that we have at the original Varsity Club. Again, not doubling, tripling, or 7 times in our density. We're taking advantage of it and doing it in a more appropriate fashion. So while I'm fresh on the stream, if you look on the bottom right of this plan, you'll see a crooked line going under the power line easement and curling around. That's the stream. We were able, with our civil engineer, Stephen Whiteside, who we're very happy with, to move that parking out of it and not impact it at all. And we feel really good about it. We liked it a lot. Since last meeting, Adam, you brought it up at the last meeting, some of the traffic calming we fine-tuned. Nathan Hinkle ran point on that, got back with us. We're gonna add a pork chop, which I just like to say, pork chop. Traffic calming device.
What is a pork chop versus
Pork
a choker?
chop is, so that's gonna be a Presley and 123. So a lot of the traffic concerns that we heard about were cut through traffic to 123, which everybody made some great points on. So the pork chop, as you go out onto 123, forces, this by the liquor store, tattoo shop, which there's a lot of those too. So again, it's across from the Publix, I think. So requires you to make a right turn onto 123. So again, if someone's, this is all very well thought out. If somebody's cutting through the back way to try to get to the campus, it's gonna divert them right onto 123, which is not where they wanna go. They would wanna go left onto 123 to get up to,
So that essentially forces them to the light if they have to turn left. Is that?
I think it's to the light at Publix, on 123.
Yeah.
Am I saying that right? Yeah,
It'll drive them out Newton Road.
That's what I mean.
Instead of going down Dorothy and coming out at the liquor store across from Publix, unless they're going towards downtown.
That pork chop's there.
Which would avoid the 123, the 93 traffic, let's say in the morning's backing up. So if they decided to do that and then go up by the Seventh-day Church there. We like that one. Choker on Dorothy, which is between Fabrica and, forgot the name of the other. Presley, okay, yep. And then turning the circulation around Fabrica and Hawthorne into a one-way clockwise. That's gonna require us to do some signage, some striping, some islands. We're gonna do all of that. Pending final coordination with Nathan, the city engineer. And then we talked about it before, enhanced striping on Conoy as you come out to Eggs Up to prevent left turns out onto Highway 93 at high rush hour times a day. So we're excited about that. And again, I've said it before, easy pill to swallow because it's all been thought out. Nathan, all these guys, I'm not just saying it, they do a good job. So then we were able to maintain with the relocation of the park, we were able to maintain 2 acres, which is more or less an acre in addition to what's required by a PD. Again, reconfigured the buildings to maintain 550 feet of stream. Property line, we talked about that. Community Action Fund, $524,000. We're looking forward to that. We like that idea from go about potentially allowing people to age in place. Looking forward to volunteering, helping any way we can to launch a pilot program with that, leverage our resources while we're out there building. We'd be more than happy to help the city fine tune that new program in any way we can. Jacob hit on a lot of it, the interconnectivity, Eunice, it was good to hear your presentation today. Love to hear that all that is still tracking. And you guys are continuing to put a dent in the Green Crescent. It's important. Parking guy left. That was a good presentation too. Surprised to hear they're actually dropping citations and helping people. So that was interesting to hear.
Surprise anybody.
Yeah.
Which has been around a long time.
Yeah, I always thought that was the goal, is to increase that. So, again, it's just another link in the chain, as Jacob said, in doing this intermodal connectivity and enhancing this neighborhood and making sure it can be expanded upon in the future. So that's it. Jeff, you want to say anything?
Yeah, I think John said it all. I mean, we think we're being very responsible with the project, and Yeah, I will say it again, there's the Community Action Fund. When we first, were presented with that, we were thinking, well, what, that, and the more we looked into it, it's like really cool, and we're excited to be part of that, so.
And they deserve it. I mean, there's a lot of people that have watched this town explode, and it's gone right by them. And, there's different levels, families, the parking. I know there's all sorts of initiatives right now, but this one is going to make a huge impact. And you run the numbers on it. I mean, somebody shared some numbers with us before, but we can impact a lot of houses, a lot of families, a lot of households to make them, feel like they're not just along for the ride, that they're getting some benefit out of all this.
Well, I mean, the only thing I was gonna say about that is that will enhance what we're able to do with the Shelf Center, and it won't be just for that neighborhood, it'll be for all the underserved neighborhoods in Clemson.
Yeah.
We hope to build upon that fund too.
That's what we hope. It's just a starting point. Yep. So we trust that, we've got a lot of John, you, and
I will call upon you for help.
Absolutely. And, the last thing I was going to say, the construction plan, we're looking for, we're not through the woods on this yet. Once we get, hopefully, approval, we're looking forward to work. We did the construction plan with John last time, and it felt like, we were responsive to the community. I mean, there was a few phone calls, but I felt like we worked well together, and we're excited to duplicate what we've already done with that, so.
I appreciate looking at the 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, because the graduate students, professionals, young professionals, I think that would be awesome for them to live out there. And then the fund, the Community Action Fund. My question though is, I know Reverend Cannon lives out there as well, and I know we mentioned, how does that impact him? Can he get in and out?
Reverend Cannon?
Yeah.
Oh, he's at the,
Yeah, so when we were going to impact him, in the original ordinance we wrote, we were going to dedicate a right of way for him. But now that we've come off, he's still going to be strictly on Clemson University land. And so I don't think he's going to be impacted. Now, he's a friend of the group here, so if we need to work with him in the future.
Well, he's such, I don't even know if I'll check in on him, but I'm not sure exactly where he is right now. But
I haven't seen him in about a month or two.
Yeah,
But,
he was in Maryland for a little bit, but I'm not sure if he's back. But
he'd be forced to drive.
That's what I'm asking.
His drive.
His drive.
Asking about the one
I'm asking
way.
about the drive. Yeah.
Will he be forced to turn left as he comes out of his driveway?
We'll work with that. I think he'll continue, I usually watch him, so I think he'll continue to go in that, clockwise circular motion. So he'll continue to pull in his driveway the way he goes, and then when he goes out, he'll have to take a right, I think, out onto Hawthorne. And it's probably, I'm sure we'll get with them, right? Have a little meeting out there and make sure everybody's on board with it. But we're sensitive of Reverend Cannon.
So where's Hawthorne become one way?
I think just after on Fabrica, just past Summit.
Yeah.
Past the farm.
Yeah.
So you'd be just past your mom's place, but then 2-3 houses up past the farm
Where it starts
is
to
where
come.
that becomes Clemson Forest on both sides. So then it'll turn to one way, so that the farm's not impacted, the Reverend's not impacted. They can both go in both directions.
How about Edith?
Okay. Yeah.
This would be up where Clemson Forest is on both sides before Hawthorne, right? And it's only a short stretch that's going to be one way, so that if you're on Hawthorne, you would come out through Newton.
So if Edith's on Hawthorne, you know where Edith is. If she's on Hawthorne, is she gonna have to turn right to go out that way?
They would go out through.
It should end after Brenda and Edith, is my understanding. It's a choke to prevent folks from leaving. So Edith and Brenda and.
Can they come out to Summit?
Yes.
Straight out, like they do now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, so the Hawthorne to Summit will be straight out.
If you see where the 4-way is,
Yeah, John, so when you see the north side on the right, if you come out and try to take a right, that's up there is where you'll be discouraged to keep going around because it'll be one way. But they're the next 2 parcels just north of that, so Nathan, correct me if I'm wrong. In the middle of the screen, you see that red corner? That's approximately where it would start. So they can still come out left, out of their houses, down to Summit. It's choking off, like Adam said, a fairly small portion of.
Where Clemson Forest is on both sides there.
Yeah.
That's up near Mr. Cannon, Reverend Cannon.
Yeah, but his driveway's before it,
Right before it.
so he'd be able to go in both directions.
Yeah, because he's right, he should be right before.
Yeah, if he comes out and he hangs a right, he can go up to Hawthorne Street and go around.
We just check, we'll double check.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we left.
He has two driveways. Yeah, so he can pick a driveway, and somewhere in between there is probably where it turns the one
He goes
way.
in one and comes out the other.
Yeah, and then cut into traffic down, going down to the cemetery by your place, and then, but again, I think we left it open for Nathan to, we're giving.
We spent a bunch of time talking about it. We think it's actually gonna work really well for everybody, and rather than having a choker and trying to restrict traffic, it'll drive everybody towards Newton Street.
Yeah.
Or at least everybody out of the development towards Newton Street, and all the residents all will be able to do what they're doing anyhow.
And maybe I mentioned it to Chief once before, maybe on opening day, you do a little courtesy police work, just to tell everybody, make sure they understand, if we have to do off-duty or something.
I tried to look back in my notes when y'all came before us a while back, and I remember as Councilwoman Smith said, we appreciate you doing the one-bedroom apartments for the young professionals and graduates. But wasn't there a mention of the 5 bedrooms? Or am I dreaming that?
We got rid of those, yeah, those are gone.
So, okay, so those are gone, so I wasn't.
We're primarily at 1s and 4s, and then.
1s and 4s, okay.
Yeah, and then if we're exploring an idea, if you see buildings 14 and 15 there, we can keep the same massing and turn those into 2s, maybe even potentially 12 through 15. So we're exploring more ways to continue to do it and keep the same mass.
So 1s went up.
Yeah, went up pretty significantly, yeah.
And then you're going to keep 2s, 4, okay.
About 43% of the overall dwelling count, yeah, so that's.
Okay. All right, thank you. I'm just, you didn't mention the 5s, and now I know why. Okay, thank you.
Minor question, your little park, that is managed in perpetuity by the development, not by the city, right?
We are installing, we're leaving it more or less in a natural state, number one, okay, wooded. We've agreed, with Tony in the ordinance that we're gonna go through and clear out the invasive species to at least thin it out and make it usable. So there should be
Natural space,
natural
it's
as
not hard to
possible, right?
maintain.
Not a, Jay and Tony and these guys are like, all right, another park we need to maintain. So we're gonna thin it out, leave it as natural as possible. We're gonna install the intermodal path, which will either be asphalt or concrete, and we will install lighting that will be on the developer's bill. Correct. So is that, am I saying that correctly, the way you interpret it? Yes. So we're furnishing this all in all the paths, the lighting, we'll maintain the lighting. I think, forget Andy, there's a sign we can put up now, but yeah, we're trying to keep it as low maintenance as possible, if that answers your question.
Other questions, comments?
I just wanted to point out, the most impressive part of this to me is the 43% actually, if you really get nitty gritty on the numbers, that are non-students already living what you've already developed. So I think it's clear that y'all have kept that very intentional through this next phase, and I really appreciate that. That's something we've talked about for years as a need for denser residences that appeal to non-students. People like Claire and I lived in townhomes before we got married. Like we need stuff like this for people who aren't students. So I think this is a really good way to do it. The location lends to the success of that, possible success of that in the future. So everything seems very intentional and well thought through.
Thank you.
Other comments? Comments from the public?
Thanks again, everybody. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Would somebody like to make a motion?
I make a motion that we approve the first reading of HUD 000391-2025 proposed plan development Varsity 3.
Second?
Okay, comments and discussion? Okay, all in favor, raise your right hand. All right, thank you very much. Other policy items, consider awarding the Clemson Park Phase 2 project in the amount of $2,398,116 to new terrain grading. Nathan, you are back.
Yeah.
I forgot about the last item on this. Okay, yes. Thank you.
So this is kind of the final work that needs to be completed for the, for Clemson Park. This will demo the building, add a new parking lot, put a new building down, put a shade structure in, put some hardscaping, some landscaping around the park. Also, I realized that the number was wrong because that's just for the park. There's another $87,000 for the sewer work to get the building off of the.
So we need to factor that in. If we're
Yeah,
gonna be
and I can give you the number for that. But this is, New Terrain Grading is who did the initial work for us, but mine is the skate park. They were great to work with. They are working with us on trying to come up with some options for value engineering to kind of see if we can get the price down a little bit while we're working on it. Their plan is right now they have availability to start mid-September if awarded, and then once they're awarded, they're going to work on getting schedules, and we'll have that posted on the website as soon as we can.
Is there a way, so is part of this list of, in the scope of work, is part of this going to finish the skate park so that it can be open to the public?
Yes.
Is there a way to prioritize that before the others, so put that at the top of the scope?
So I'm sure if you've seen the skate park, it looks unfinished, and there's a lot of grading that has to happen around that. We're working with them on trying to figure out ways to prioritize that. We're also working with, if awarded, we'll have an opportunity to kind of go with the designers and talk about other options. Some ideas that they've picked out that might slow down the schedule, but we'll have opportunities to kind of make sure everything's moved forward. The goal is to prioritize it, and they're working on that. And we've had multiple conversations with their team about how we can best streamline the schedule so we can do kind of a phased approach on opening the park.
So, to include the splash pad, is this thing gonna be done by next spring?
So they're very confident in the 9-month schedule, which doesn't put us in spring, kind of puts us in June. But I think as we get early summer would be my assumption. We talked about.
So that brings up a point. Where do we stand on helping you? I know you have a full team, but what's the status with all these projects like this? If this approved, how are we helping you?
Yeah.
As a city? And I'm looking at Nathan, Andy, Allie. I know we all work together very well, but to keep things moving along,
we're working with our HR manager,
Yes.
Tracy, to
Yeah,
get.
we are.
Okay, yeah.
Tracy and I have a meeting tomorrow at 10:45 to go over the job description for the project manager that we have.
Thank you. That's all I needed to hear.
Majority of these projects. Nathan is an engineer, but Nathan is also a grants manager and a project superintendent at some points and times, and a project manager, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And he loves doing those things, and he's a great public speaker, and 1,000 other things he's great at. But we at the city would like Nathan to focus on being an engineer instead of doing some of those other things. So
thank you for
that's what we're
updating us.
doing.
We appreciate it. Yep, helping you. Cool. Other comments or questions?
This might be a very simple question, but
Sure.
is it within planned budget for this project?
We have funds available to be able to.
That works.
The project's within the funds available.
So what's the whole total cost?
Yes, so it'd be $2,474,456,456.
We're doing well with our bids that have been coming in. They've been coming in where we need them to be.
So
For all these red
2472.
projects.
Good.
2472, and what was it? Sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, you know I can't read that. I don't have my glasses.
Get your glasses.
I asked my daughter to break them.
No, so the skate park's already been complete and
But I think she's asking the question, the pump track was already there, and then we did the skate park. How much did the skate park cost us?
roughly $550.
Okay.
And that's done.
That's complete.
This is just the surrounding grading, and I think what last I heard from y'all was some of that work that needs to be done so that the skate park itself is supported and safe, right? Like
Correct.
we're
Yeah, so
around
it's all of the backfill and the grading that has to happen for the skate park. There's some hardscaping. If you actually look at the plans, there's it's basically what I'm gonna call two loops that are offset. There's a loop that goes around the skate park, the half pipe and the bowl. That gives us an opportunity to that's kind of the plan to get that complete, get the landscaping in, and then we can move the fence back, and then the skate park's easy to access off the fast track, because the front track's open. I think our Parks and Rec staff's been able to get a temporary toilet out there, since the shelter is closed right now. And then so you can access that, and the church has been very gracious about allowing us to be able to use their parking as necessary, especially during construction, and then allowing us, and then also the church has given us an easement for the sewer that, as the reason the number is a little bit larger, with pretty minimal accommodations on our side. So they've been a great partner in this as well.
This one did come in a little bit higher than we thought, but it was all stuff that we can go back to the contractor and find value engineering opportunities, substitute materials.
Value engineering is a great term for what that is. I
Well,
like
it
that.
adds no value and has nothing to do with engineering. So I have no idea how
Dollars.
it became that term, but, so I'm just saying, it's not an amount we can't work with.
So now we kind of open this up. Where do we stand on the stormwater aspect? We feel pretty confident with everything from a stormwater perspective.
It's functioning, and
because I know that was a challenge up front. I'm just making sure it's still okay.
yeah.
Cool.
I think the big challenge with stormwater was that the skate park construction crew they have limited time windows of when they can come in and do work for us, and when we had an availability of a time window, we had to have the stormwater in and grade reached for the skate park. And so those two things were kind of playing together. So we had to have this underground stormwater system in before the skate park could be built.
Right.
So you're kind of playing a handshake game of who, chicken and the egg.
Any other questions, comments? Comments from the public? Would somebody like to make a motion?
I make a motion that we award the Clemson Park Phase 2 ITB 2025-06-006 project in the amount of $2,474,456 to New Terrain Grading.
Second.
Comments?
This is really exciting.
All right, all in favor, raise your right hand. Thank you very much. Thanks, Nathan.
Thank you.
Abstain.
Next is the possibility of going into executive session to review the city administrator's gold South Carolina Code Section 3470A1. Would somebody like to make a motion?
So
Second.
Comments, discussion, all in favor, raise your right hand. All right, thank you very much. We'll be back. All right, would somebody like to make a motion to go back into regular session?
So moved.
Second?
Any comments or discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All right, thank you very much. We're coming back into regular session from executive session, and we have nothing to report at this time. I also want to bring up one of the agenda items at the end of our city council meeting tonight was in reference to a vote on the Clemson Park. And just to give some more clarification on one of the votes from one of our city council members, Cause is going to relay some comments, or city attorney, I should say.
The Cause is fine. The city code in section 2-47F indicates that except in the case of a conflict, all council members shall vote on all questions. So an abstention would not be an appropriate vote. And so I think we need clarity on Ms. Evans' vote at the last, on the last agenda item.
Okay, I will be recusing myself on any future, this one, and any future votes or discussion on the Clemson Park due to owning the property adjoining the park.
Thank you. And I understand that there'll be a statement placed, that there'll be a written statement delivered to the clerk in accordance with state law as well.
Yes, and that is signed, yes.
All right, thank you for clarifying that, both of you. All right. Next, the last item tonight is mayor council reports, new business. I'll just start out real quickly. Just kudos to Sonia, police department, church, community members coming out for Community Day on Saturday at Dawson's Park. So thank you. I'm looking in the back. They're there. Our police department was in full force, as well as firefighters and other first responders, and then other vendors. And like I said, the church partnered, which was great. Linda and her team, the pastor. So hopefully we'll even have more participation in the future. I know they're talking about that for the future events. So that's all I got to report. So anything else? Yeah, Lindsay. Yes.
The university hosted the JCUAB like kickoff, and she was there. But I think some of those groups are extremely active, and there's a lot of great representation from the city employees on those groups. Some of those groups, I'm going to serve on the arts when it has not met in a year, so it's going to reactivate. So think about if you want to get involved in one of those, they're pretty cool because it does have a lot of staff, people from university and city, highly engaged. There's a police one, there's a communications one, there's a housing one, there's arts.
Economic development.
Mm-hmm. Economic development.
Yeah. So give it some thought.
Transportation.
Those good groups.
All right. Anything else? New business? All right. Would somebody like to make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
All right. Any comments, discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All right. Thank you very much. Have a great evening.